Hello and welcome to the second video for my ownership diary for this BMW 750i M Sport G11 model. So now I've owned this car for around about 7 months, so I thought it was time that we did a video to look at the maintenance costs of the car and the various faults and things that have happened during those 7 months of ownership. When I bought the car, it had about 2,000 miles until the next service, so that was expected. It went into the garage, it had an oil service. It had a microfilter as well, a pollen filter, a genuine BMW pollen filter. So the cost of those two things were £450. The garage I use an independent BMW specialist. I prefer to do that because you get, in my opinion, you get better service, much more personal service. They know your car a lot better. And the labour rates are around about £80 plus VAT an hour, which is roughly about half of what a BMW dealer would be. I don't feel like a number there. I feel like that, you know, they know me and I know them. So I've done that for many, many years. So oil service microfilter, about £450. Then a few weeks later, I had a brake fluid service, which is simply change the brake fluid. And also I noticed that the cigarette lighter in the front ashtray wasn't working. There was no power to it. So they fixed that, and the bill for those two things was around about the £200 mark. The next thing was some wiper blades. I had some Bosch wiper blades. I always tend to buy the Bosch wiper blades. They're a little bit cheaper than the genuine BMW article, and in my opinion, they are just as good. No labour costs on that because it's one of the things I was able to do myself. I don't like changing wiper blades because I always find them difficult to get off for some reason, but I managed to do it. £25 for a pair of Bosch wiper blades. Soon after that was the MOT was due. MOT, if you're not in the UK, that's an annual inspection, check the condition of the car, etc. And that was around about £50. Fortunately, it passed. There was no other work or maintenance was required after that. Then just this week, I've had 2 tyres on the back, replaced the 2 tyres. The 2 tyres were getting down to around about 2 millimetres of tread, so I decided to replace those. They're 275 40 19 101Y, if I remember right. The tyres that were on the car were Pirelli. Pirelli is a slightly softer compound tyres. In my opinion, don't seem to last quite as long as some other tyres. They've been replaced with Goodyear, so they should last me for a little while, I think. Front ones are okay at the moment. Cost of 2 tyres was, including fitting and balancing, £420 for the tyres. Now, also, there was another issue with the tyre sensors. And I'll come into this in a moment. It hasn't been fixed yet, this, but they found that the right rear tyre sensor, the tyre pressure sensor, isn't working. I've got one on order. Cost of replacing that, including the tyre sensor, probably going to be around about £150. When that happens, you get an error on the dash saying that the tyre pressure sensor, the tyre pressure system, the monitoring system can't communicate with the actual tyre pressure sensor itself. It happened a couple of times, occasionally, you know, a couple of weeks apart. I just reset the tyre pressures, and it went off. Then it came back a couple of weeks. Then it started happening more and more regular, and now the error is on the car permanently. So as soon as I get the tyre pressure sensor, that's going to go in, and that will solve that problem. I have heard that they have a battery inside, and it's the battery that goes. Don't know how true that is. I did ask the garage, is it possible just to replace the battery, and they didn't really seem to have had any experience of that. Chances are that the battery is probably soldered in place or whatever. So I'm going to ask them to keep the old one. I'm going to see if I can dismantle it and have a look to see if it is possible to replace the battery. So if that is successful, that might be another video. So what are the problems that I had with this car during the ownership? Other than the tyre pressure issue, the first error that came up in the dashboard probably 2 or 3 months ago was where it says emergency assistance not available. And this will come up occasionally. Sometimes it will come up, sometimes it wouldn't. Did a little bit of research, and there seems to be some sort of a battery in the boot that is powering the system that tends to go flat, is what I read. When I did ask a garage about it, he also said that there's another battery underneath the shark fin antenna on the back that could affect that. Fortunately, the error seems to have gone away. It was coming on every now and again, and it seemed to be mainly when I was doing the shorter journeys, but when I was doing the longer motorway journeys, it didn't seem to happen. So I think there was maybe some battery charging issue. Not quite sure about that. Hopefully it won't come back again. I mean, the emergency assistance, I think that's probably a thing that you need if you subscribe to one of the BMW services. It's not really something that I needed, but I don't like errors on the dash of my car, so I would have to get it fixed if it did keep on coming back. Another issue I had is a really strange one. I was driving along, and this car has a collision avoidance system in, and if it thinks you're getting too close to the car in front, it automatically brakes. And very occasionally, when it does that, it puts like a red symbol on the dashboard with a picture of the car and some lines that indicate a road. And every now and again, I've been driving along and I've seen it flash very, very quickly. So quickly, it's just on and off, and you don't really get a chance to register about it. But one particular day, I'm driving along, doing about 40, 50 miles an hour, and it automatically applied the brakes very, very quickly. So it was a quick jerk. And it was on and off, and it was quite startling. I said, what happened there? And I noticed that the red light came on at the same time. There was absolutely no reason for it. There was no traffic in front of me. There was nothing around. So why that happened, I don't know. Maybe the sensor got confused with something. Hopefully that's not going to happen again. I don't think that's a particularly good fault to have. The garage has since done an analysis of the fault stored in the system, and they said there was nothing of any consequence there. So it may have just been the sensor got fooled by something. I'm not quite sure why that happened. A fault I got about 6 weeks ago was a lot more concerning. I was driving, and then a drivetrain error came on the dashboard. Now, drivetrain errors, I've had a bad history of those on the 760 I used to own. There've been pretty serious problems when that's come on. So when I saw the drivetrain error, the feeling of dread was, oh, what's going wrong here? And when that came on, the car was running rough. It felt like it wasn't running on all the cylinders. So I decided to stop the car. I switched the engine off, left it off for 30 seconds, switched it back on again, and it drove fine. I noticed that the engine management light was on as well, and the drivetrain error was still on, but the car was running fine. So I drove it for about 30 seconds, a minute, and then the engine management light went off, the drivetrain error disappeared, and everything was fine. I don't know what caused that. The garage did check the diagnostics, couldn't find anything. It might have just been one of those weird anomalies you get that hopefully I'll never come back again, because really you don't want to see a drivetrain error. I know that from experience. And I think that's pretty much all the faults I've had with a car in 7 months. So you can tot up all the repair costs. They're not massive. A lot of them are just routine maintenance. And so hopefully it's going to be it's going to be good for another 7 months without too many issues. Done around about 10,000 miles in the 7 months of ownership. So I suppose, for a 2017 car, it's not too bad. So we'll catch up again at some point in the future if there's any other faults and maintenance coming along. Hopefully not too much. I think it's due next service in about 10 or 11,000 miles. So it's going to be some time before I need to spend some more money on the servicing. Next video, we're probably going to have a look at the driving experience in the car. Over the 7 months, what I think about how it drives, how it handles, etc. In the first video, I did talk a little bit about that, and I contrasted it against the 760i that I used to have. But now, obviously, I've got a bit more use of the car. I'm a lot more familiar with it. So that'll be the next video. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you like the video, if you like what you've seen, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, put some comments, and I'll try and reply to the comments wherever I can. And on the next video, we'll talk about driving this BMW 750i M Sport.